We are at the forefront of many innovative and exciting things developing in the world of senior living. With Tim Mallad, CEO of Forefront Living, as our guide, this show will shine a light on how older adults can embrace these changes to live active, happy, fulfilling, and thriving lives. Through discussions with senior living and hospice professionals, architects and designers, and people of all ages, will help today's seniors envision the art of the possible and take steps toward achieving the future of their dreams. Welcome to At the Forefront.
Welcome to At the Forefront. I'm Tim Mallad, CEO of Forefront Living, and we have a very interesting podcast today. We're here with Vicki Keltner. Vicki actually is a resident at Presbyterian Village North, and in preparing for this, we had so many different conversations, but the topic for today will be beauty pageants or pageants in general, because we did talk about Miss America at one point, and ageism. And Vicki, welcome to At the Forefront.
Thank
I know you have a varied background, and as we were talking about this, you dropped a kernel to me that you were employed by the BBC. So I don't know if I need to hand over the mic to you now, or maybe we can begin there and you can tell us a little bit about that experience and your background.
Well, I started in broadcasting. I went to SMU and studied communication. I also was an opera student. And my professor said, "Your Italian's lousy, but you can go to New York because you got the pipes, you got the personality, so why don't you just go to Broadway instead?" I didn't do that. I ended up going to England and landed an internship at the BBC in broadcasting. And I worked for 24 hours, which was like what we used to have Huntley Brinkley. But they wouldn't want women on camera.
So what did you do?
I ended up with these two women producers, and I worked for Play School, and I wrote 15 programs. They said, "Well, what can you write it about?" And I said, "Well, all I know about is Texas." And they said, "Well, what can you tell us about that?" So I wrote all about Texas, and they had never heard any. And all they wanted to know was who shot JR.
So what's interesting is, as we were preparing for this, you also talked about pageants,
Yes.
beauty pageants, Miss Texas, Miss America. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, anyone who's ever been in a beauty pageant understands that it's a rigorous discipline. And the women that enter that, they always thought, well, it's kind of a beauty pageant and it's flaky. Well, the reason it got started was women needed money to go to college, and it was really expensive. So the first Miss America pageant was to raise money for women who wanted to get a degree. I started in junior high school and high school. You go through the pageant circuit. You know these people pretty much all your life. Well, the group that I got involved in, which is called Miss Texas Senior America, which is only Texas, but now also the national, and they said, "Look, we've got to do something for seniors, and we're vocal, we're experienced, we can entertain," and they go all over. In fact, some of the ladies have been at Presbyterian North singing and dancing for you all.
How did you hear about the pageant?
A funny thing happened on the way to Presbyterian North. This woman approached me and said, "Have you ever been to a beauty pageant?" And I went, "What? A beauty pageant? I'm 76. She said, no, this is about seniors." And I said, "Well, okay, what do you do with seniors who have issues?" "Well, I'm a senior, I have issues." "Okay, I qualify. Do I have to wear a bathing suit?" She said, No, honey, this is a serious deal. And you just have to wear an elegant evening gown because we want to show women in their age who've kept themselves, who work out, who eat right. And of course, I live at Presbyterian Village North, and that full circle, everything I do every day is fitness, what I eat, who I engage with. They cover everything. It's a business model that is the perfect, this is a big compliment, huge contribution to seniors. And I wish there were one in every community, because we need neighbors, we need community. We're lost.
Well, we will take that endorsement.
Yes, I'm
absolutely. You know, a lot has been discussed about pageants, and sometimes they don't have the best reputation, but you're taking something that we consider to be focused on beauty, to be focused on youth, and you're looking at it as a chance to perhaps have a different spin on aging and ageism. Tell us a little bit about your platform.
Well, my platform's legislative because I've always been involved in politics, and I was a candidate for lieutenant governor for Texas years ago, and I wanted to represent seniors. And ironically, I just remembered the other day I was on the Committee for Aging with John Tower years ago, and he was my first introduction. And of course, then my parents aged, and I aged. My late husband passed away. He aged. And I saw how certain people did well and certain people who didn't. And I noticed that people were in communities, and at that time, nursing homes, all that it's not like, I call Presbyterian North Disneyland East for seniors, because we have something to do all the time. And it's educational, it keeps us stimulated, we have friends, we have activities, we can continue with sports activities. We had Senior Olympics. That was very challenging, by the way.
Well, the question I have is, if you look back, and you shared a little bit about your history, and I'll share a bit of a story you shared before. I'll share the G-rated version of that story. It had to do with your honeymoon and, the fact that you had been in beauty pageants. You had gotten married, and you came to the realizations once you married that you couldn't do what?
I couldn't be in the pageant anymore. And he thought I was upset because I didn't like the room. And I said, no, it has nothing to do with the room. I can't be in the Miss America pageant. Well, why not? Well, you're now Mrs. I said, oh, okay, well, move on.
Well,
do you want a divorce? And I said, no, I'll talk to you in the morning. Let me get through the honeymoon and we'll talk about it. He had a great sense of humor.
So even as a very young woman, you were placed into the next category up. And you made a comment that you went back and you tried to participate again after you had children. And I thought that was also interesting.
That was 37, and I was competing against 21-year-olds who hadn't had any children yet. So that was a challenge. Didn't even make the top 10 in that. But what it taught me was the discipline, because I had forgotten all the things I used to do, which was dance and athletics and play tennis and whatnot. And as the years went on, I became less and less active, and I saw other people doing that. But my mother was probably the big reason why I was interested in all this, because I was extremely shy, and she knew if I couldn't make friends that I would have a very difficult time.
And how did you overcome being shy? Because I do not see that.
She put me on the stage, and once I got on stage, I was fine. I just lit up and did whatever they asked me to do and kept going.
At a point, and I think our society is superficial, it is youth-focused. So when you are 37, nearing 40, you're out there with the 21-year-olds, and I think you said you didn't make the top 10, and I was more impressed that you made, the qualifying rounds.
I was too.
How did you take that event, and then the event obviously where you aged out of Miss USA? How did you take those events and move on from them?
Well, one of the competitions in this, and I don't consider it a competition, it's more like an interview, because you have to answer questions about aging and what your platform is. So by being in the Miss America pageant or any of those pageants, and parents ask me all the time, should my daughter do that? And I said, absolutely. It's rigorous, it's disciplined, they have to have a talent, and you have to speak in front of people, and you have to learn to stand on your feet and answer questions quickly, because they come rapid fire to you. Well, that's pretty much the way your life is. And when you go for a job interview, I would ace them because I'd already known how to do it. So I highly recommend it. And I do caution parents, there's a lot of bad reputations, with some of these events that they have, but I never had any problem at all. The people were very nice.
An interesting statistic, I was at a conference recently, and in 2030, there will be more Americans over the age of 65 than under the age of 65. I will be 64 and 3/4, so I'll be on the younger side of that then. That was a joke.
1940, I got it.
Yeah,
I got
but
it. 1948 is the largest group of baby boomers, and we are not aging well. And when I went back for my 50th reunion,
talk to me about that.
Well, they let themselves go. They quit playing sports. They injured their knees, or I don't know what I can do. And I do Pilates because it's the overall training that I like, and I never exercised. I didn't want to mess up my hair in PE, so I wasn't exactly an athlete. But it's a discipline, and it teaches you to be out in front and meet people and learn something, because if you stop learning, you can't do anything. It's over. It's not right.
Is there a point where you can't get it back? You went back and tried. Is there
None.
None?
In fact, I attended in Hawaii the Miss America. It was a muscle type thing. I can't remember what the title was, but these women weren't ugly. They were toned, and I thought, and it was Tropic America, something sun tanning lotion. They looked gorgeous, and they looked so happy, and they felt so good. And I said, that's really a good goal to have. It's not about narcissistic or anything. It's about being healthy.
Well, you talk about inner beauty, and
Yeah.
you talk about discipline. How do you find that? Where, as we've talked about, you have these, what some people would say are setbacks, but
Yeah.
you've repackaged those. How do you do that?
Well, I had mentioned earlier, I think, to one of your staff people, and I said I have a daughter with cystic fibrosis. So I have spent the last 38 years keeping her alive. She has a double lung transplant and a kidney transplant. So I had to just study diet, medications, everything. And then we help other parents, who have kids that have CF. And my daughter's still alive at 38. Still kicking.
Wonderful.
I know.
That's wonderful.
It really
Well, I
is.
understand that your talent, and in case our listeners and viewers haven't already guessed, might have something to do with comedy.
Yes. In fact, the Oaks, my neighbors, all helped with the dress rehearsal and critiqued all of my jokes and told me which ones were funny, which ones were not. And then I reviewed all of that because I had to, do the timing with the laughs and all, because I only have 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And if you go over your time frame, you're dinged 1 point, and that counts against your score. So it's a scoring system, so it's fair across the board. Punctuality, get your act out, tell about your platform.
And how are you going to represent your platform?
Well, I already do that because I've contacted my congressman, and she's excited to meet me, and she says, what is it you're working on? She said, that's part of my platform is seniors. And I said, well, let me tell you what I've been doing. Let me show you where I live, and let me introduce you to some of the seniors. Of course, Mr. Luckadoo would be number one on my list because he's
You've not met
100.
Lucky, or have you
Oh,
met
I
Lucky?
engage with him every day. He waves to me. He knows my name. We've talked about his service in Normandy. My husband was a Vietnam veteran, and he's passed away. We talked about the Air Force, and my dad was in the Air Force, so we have a lot in common.
So if you were given a wish or a magic wand for your generation, based on everything that we've talked about, what would that be? What would you wave the wand to make happen, or what would the wish be?
Well, I guess it's going to sound a little trite, but I think we've lost God in our country, and I would say that's number one. And what I find at PVN is that the light in the employees and the people that are there, it's obvious they have something special that I didn't find anywhere else. And I interviewed and looked at a lot of retirement communities all around Texas and in California. And I actually lived in the big one in California, which is in Laguna Woods.
Oh, really? Well, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Any other thoughts or final thoughts on the pageant, on the platform, on what you'd like to see happen?
I think there are many women who have tremendous talent, including singing, dancing, ukulele playing, because we try to get everybody in every singing, any kind of theater, whatever, and get up there and do it. And if you're foolish, so what? We'll just do it over again,
But what about that fear of failure? What about that fear of getting out there and being judged or laughed at? Which in your case would be a good thing if they laugh,
Well-
but because you're doing comedy.
I am not a comedian. My daughter was. She said, Mom, just talk. Just speak. You're funny enough as it is. That's all you need to do. You're not going to do that. I actually would have done a singing talent, but I haven't sung in many, many years. I did musical comedy, so I would have done that.
Musical comedy.
Yeah. Well, On a Clear Day or
Oh, really?
Barbra Streisand, any of those. That would
Oh,
be-
really? Wow.
But you have to really work at it. You got to get your voice up. And this is great because now I can kind of hear myself because I haven't been on camera or done anything like this in a long time. So you're helping me with my rehearsal. So thank you. I
Well,
really
it is my
appreciate
pleasure.
that. I know. And all I have to do is say, I need this.
But for those of us that don't think we have a talent or any talent, I think you made an interesting comment that there can be an it factor, that you don't have to be attractive or a big personality. We're actually talking about me, so tell me about that. Tell me what an it factor is. And
It's a person that knows how to engage with people. I don't care if I'm interesting. I want you to get that I'm interested in what you've done. because everyone has a story, and the most incredible talent that everybody has is just tell your story, because somewhere in your life they've done the same thing or they've gone through the same hardship. I mentor young women in my church, and I talk to them. I said, listen, girls, it doesn't change when you're this age, especially when they talk about dating and stuff. And I said, we're not dead. You know, we like men and women. I mean, we're out there dating, but it's hard. It's not easy. It's not like it was when we were in school. But at PVN, I have all kinds of opportunities to meet people. And if I want to date someone, fine. If I don't, if I want to go dancing, I can. Or if we want to go out to dinner, they've given me every opportunity to meet people. And it's just been wonderful. Because I'm new here, coming back to Dallas, and I didn't know
Well,
anyone.
we're going to talk about that in just a moment. As we, in this segment, I think that you definitely will be the it girl of the Ms. Texas Senior America pageant. I wish you much luck.
Thank you.
I don't think it's appropriate anymore to say break a leg, but
No,
I'll say
it is. Totally, absolutely. That's theatrical. Anybody out there. But I just want the people at PVN to say, I'm going to be recruiting you. And there are tons of women there with it, and men as well, but they don't get to be in the pageant, that have talent. And they have things they're concerned about, like Medicare and Social Security. And we can speak out, because we don't care what anybody thinks at this point.
Well, then I wish
We're
you
gonna
well.
do it. Thank you.
Break a leg, and we
Okay.
do have 24-hour therapy available at
Thank you.
PVN.
Thank you.
Should you need it if you
Yeah.
break your leg.
Well,
But
I might break that, but I might cry if I lose. But I don't intend to lose.
you won't lose. I
I'm
have
not gonna
I have a
lose.
very good feeling. Thank you to everyone for joining us at the forefront, and we
Thank
hope you can
you.
join us for our second segment.